Leave it running. Hi, Jonathan. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Great. Okay. So I think we're gonna get started. I'm gonna say a couple words and then I'm gonna pass it over to wonderful Mona and the really amazing and thoughtful panelists we have for today. So just want to say, welcome to all of you. Welcome to the third annual EcoHealth Global Summit. We're so excited and honored to have you here for the Middle East session. My name's Angel Kennedy. I'm the Early Career Coordinator for EcoHealth International. I'm a PhD candidate here in Canada and one of the of EarthHug. Right now I'm calling from unceded and stolen territories of the Coast Salish peoples, specifically of the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Coquitlam nations. And I've been working with a group of amazing early career colleagues from around the world to run this summit. So thank you. So many of you are here: Carlos, Evan, Christina, Halase, JP, and China. And a very heartfelt thank you to Mona here for making the Middle East session. So I'll tell you a little bit where the summit came from, and then we'll go into the session. But the EcoHealth Summit was first created in 2024 with Dr. Margot Parks, who was the chair of National's External Advisory Group at the time, and myself. It began as a space to foster ecological and equity-informed innovation, integration, and global collaboration, with the goal of improving health for all, which is work that requires not only knowledge, but also relationships, trust, and deep care across regions, disciplines, sectors, and generations. The summit grew from this desire to create connected and intentional spaces, spaces where we don't just talk about health and sustainability, but where we practice collaboration and hold space for diverse knowledges and really try to support each other in the face of complex and overlapping challenges. So with that, we often call this gathering the Earth Hug, which is really a reflection of what it means and what it feels like to come together across continents and time zones and lived experience to say that you're not alone in this work. And at the end of last year's Earth Hug, Mona and I were talking about how difficult it is to describe Earth Hug because it's more of a feeling than an event. It's a space of connecting and feeling like full humans, of feeling less alone and more united around love and working together in the same way amidst tensions and isolation around the world. And in a world that can feel so fragmented and overwhelming, Earth Hug is a reminder that connection is a form of resistance and that love and care and collective support are essential ingredients in building this more healthy and just and sustainable future. So we're really happy that we've made this an annual event, and we really look forward to staying connected and welcoming you back next year. And by joining this Middle East session, you are all part of a larger whole. So over the next 3 days, we'll be hearing stories through the Middle East, Turtle Island, Oceania, Africa, Latin America, Europe, and Asia. So thank you for being part of this story and of this hug around the Earth. And last year we ended in the Middle East, so it feels really fitting to now be starting this Earth Hug the way we ended it last year. So with that, I'll pass it over to you, Mona, and I'll start sharing the slides as well.
Thank you so much, Angel, for your warm introduction, and greetings of peace, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from Egypt here. And a heartfelt welcome to this special session of EcoHealth Global Summit. And we will begin with the Middle East region. And it's an honor to be gathered here today to explore a theme that speaks to both our shared past and collective future. The theme we'll be speaking about is healing and heritage, the Middle East's cultural legacy in advancing planetary health and the global common good. But before we start, maybe, Angel, we can play just a very short song. It's about the history of a musical instrument that can really inspire us all by its soft musical tone.
Did you know the Chang inspired harps across cultures? The Chang, an ancient Persian harp, dates back over 3,000 years and played a pivotal role in shaping the world's musical heritage. Its name, meaning twang, reflects the delicate melodic sound of its strings. The chang was widely used in royal courts and celebrations during the Achaemenid and Sassanid empires, celebrated for its elegance and versatility. Over centuries, the chang influenced the design of harps across the Middle East, Central Asia, and Europe, blending into the musical traditions of diverse cultures. Though its prominence faded over time, echoes of its artistry remain in Persian classical music and instruments like the qanun and modern harp. The chang's enduring legacy symbolizes the timeless connection between music and cultural identity, resonating across borders and eras. Like and subscribe for more.
So, actually, let us give just a brief background about the region itself. The Middle East has long been a crossroads of civilizations, home to some of humanity's oldest societies and intellectual traditions. From ancient Egyptians, Mesopotamians, and Persian to the Greek and Roman, and later the flourishing of Islamic civilizations. This region has been a fertile ground for scientific advancement, medical knowledge, artistic expressions, and profound spiritual wisdom. As we reflect on planetary health, we recognize its fundamental principle, the interconnectedness of human well being and the natural ecosystems that sustain us all. This is not a new concept, rather, it is deeply rooted in the wisdom of ancient civilizations. For example, the ancient Egyptian civilization, whose medical texts and practices remain among the most advanced of the ancient world, their holistic approach to healing, blending medical knowledge with spiritual well being, continues to influence us today. Even the language they spoke echoes in modern times. For example, the phrase Wahawiya Wahawi, still sung in Egypt during the holy months of Ramadan, the months of fasting, which we are witnessing now. And this originated from the word welcome the new moon in ancient Egyptian language. So, moving a bit to Ramadan, the months of fasting, I really want to acknowledge Angel and the organizing committee of EcoHealth for being really flexible for um, for setting the time zone really friendly at our end here in the Middle East region. And by the way, fasting it's just not an ancient practice in the Middle East region, but it's also prevalent in indigenous communities worldwide. And this bring forth the ideas of discipline, balance, and harmony with nature. So as we work together towards a healthier, more just, and sustainable future, we are reminded of the crucial role of reviving ancient wisdom, integrating indigenous knowledge, and upholding our sacred duty as stewards of the earth. The Middle East, as a unique confluence of diverse civilizations across time and space, offers profound insight that can help us navigate today's pressing challenges, whether on the micro scale of our inner resilience or the macro scale of global harmony. Our early career researchers from Cairo University joining us in this panel will illustrate how the accumulated wisdom of past civilizations continue to shape contemporary approaches to health, well-being, and environmental sustainability. While the Middle East represents only 20% of the global Muslim community, its cultural heritage remains deeply distinct across regions worldwide. This is significant because Islam is like a crystal clear water that flows across different regions and different civilizations, reflecting the bedrock across which it flows. And with its comprehensive program, it acts like a program really for life and for living that integrates spiritual, scientific, artistic, and ethical dimensions into a holistic framework. From its name, Islam is the religion of nature or Din al-Fitra. And again, from an epistemological point of view, Fitra in Arabic means to burst out. It's like a seed, what it needs to do, emerging from something small to something bigger. And this speaks to the mystery of origination. This is one of the creative divine acts. So today, our objectives are to illuminate how the spiritual, scientific, artistic, and cultural legacies of the Middle East have shaped the physician's role as both healer and a moral guide. And we have the objectives, maybe ancient, we can display them. And also how artistic expressions, visual, musical, architecture serve as therapeutic tools, contributing to planetary health from the micro scale of the individual well-being to the macro scale of cultural resilience. How the principle of balance, central in both the ancient Egyptian and Islamic civilizations, underscore a holistic approach to planetary health, and the Middle Eastern traditions, with its humanistic action and shared responsibility, how can it call for recognizing the sacredness of all life, especially when we are witnessing so many geopolitical instability in the region? And we also will reinforce the idea that the sacred and science are deeply interconnected through all of the presentations that will be showcased today. And this is really essential for planetary health and the global common good going forward. So now it's my pleasure to introduce our esteemed panelists for the first hour. Our discussion begins with Fadil from Kuwait, and he is also studying at Cairo University, followed by Yomna Hatem and Yomna Hassan from Egypt. Together, they will guide us through the cultural, scientific, and artistic healing heritage of the region. After those presentations, we will be privileged to hear reflections from our distinguished friends of the Middle East, esteemed author Carrie Taylor from Australia, and humanitarian expert Amjad Salim from Geneva. So Carrie suggested that we can set the stage with a healing song. So the song serves really as a reminder of harmony between nature, humanity, and the divine wisdom. So maybe we can watch the song together, Angel, and then afterwards, Fadil will take it from there.
It's so hard to explain what I'm feeling, but I guess it's okay, 'cause I'll keep believing. There's something deep inside, something that's calling. It's calling you and I. It's taking us up high to healing. A simple act of kindness brings such meaning. A smile can change your life. Let's start believing and feeling. Let's start healing. Heal and you will be healed. Break every border. Give and you will receive. It's nature's order. There is a hidden force pulling us closer. It's pulling you and I. It's pulling us up high to healing. A simple act of kindness brings up meaning. A smile can change your life. Let's start healing and feeling. Let's start healing. Hearts in the hand of another heart, and in God's hand are all hearts. An eye takes care of another eye, and from God's eye nothing hurts. Seek only to give and you receive. So heal and you will be healed. Healed, it's healing. أخيك صدقة كل معروف صدقة اللهم اشفي شفاء لا يغادر سقما اللهم اشفي شفاء لا يغادر سقما اللهم اشفي شفاء لا يغادر سقما اللهم اشفي شفاء Let's start healing.
Thank you so much, Angel, for displaying the song for us. And I totally agree, Ivan. It's really a deeply moving song. And I really hope you can still share with us your reflections in the chat box about the meanings of this song, that also Fadil will be doing so and reflecting on the meanings and also discussing with us the ripple effects of Middle Eastern healing values on human and planetary well-being. But let me briefly introduce Fadil from Kuwait, and he is studying at Cairo University. He has a strong passion to advancing planetary health and human health. Fadil aspires to contribute meaningfully to the global medical community, aiming to support and shape the future of medicine through compassionate care and innovative solutions. So, welcome on board, Fadil. Please feel free to unmute yourself and share with us.
Hello everyone, my name is Fadil Deshti. Hello doctor. Hello Angel.
Hello, Fadil. Yes, Angel, we can turn the slides to the beginning of the presentation. Yes, thank you. Yes, Fadil.
Yes,
Yes, we can hear you, Fadil. You can start your talk.
okay. So rooted in rich traditions of Middle Eastern cultures, a profound emphasis on compassion, empathy, and healing. Values that transcend time and remain vital in addressing both personal and planetary health today. This heritage teaches us that even in the simplest acts of kindness, such as offering a smile, for example, can initiate powerful waves of healing, touching lives in ways that ripple outward through communities and even across generations.
Next slide, Angel.
I would like to reflect on the beautiful and profound song just being shared, woven with layers of meaning about interconnectedness, divine oversight, and reciprocity. Hearts in the hand of another heart and at God's hand are all hearts. This speaks to how human beings are deeply interconnected emotionally. Our hearts, our feelings, intentions, and vulnerabilities are often entrusted to others. We influence each other's inner worlds, yet above all, there is the acknowledgement that ultimately all hearts belong to God. There's duality here. We hold each other's hearts, but only God holds them all. It blends the human and the divine, reminding us that while we may love, care, or hurt, there is a higher wisdom overseeing the entirety of these exchanges. An eye takes care of another eye, and from God's eye, nothing hides. From a medical perspective, this insightful line suggests mutual vigilance and care. Just as we watch over the sick, God watches over all, with perfect sight. Nothing escapes divine perception. It's a call to be just, compassionate, and careful, because not only are we seen by others, but we are also seen by the one who sees all truths, motives, and actions. There is a sense of accountability here, but also comfort that no pain or good deed goes unseen.
Next slide, Angel.
So heal and you will be healed. Healing is not just for others. It's cyclical. By tending to the wounds of others, whether emotional, physical, or spiritual, we invite healing into our own lives. It's a profound call to empathy and action, as if to say your own restoration is tied to how you care for others. At the heart of these values in Middle Eastern traditions is charity and kindness that are not only moral obligations but also pathways to personal growth and societal cohesion. When we offer kindness to a person or to the earth, we engage in a sacred exchange that nurtures both the giver and the receiver. A smile can brighten someone's day, for example, enhance their productivity, and inspire them to pay it forward. This circle of healing exemplifies how small intentional actions can lead to a significant and a lasting change. In medicine, the legacy of healing is central. Physicians, especially within the Islamic and Middle Eastern medical traditions, are seen as stewards of health, combining knowledge with empathy, science with compassion, as the healer's role extends beyond treatment, offering hope, comfort, and dignity. Empathy is a timeless value, and in modern healthcare, it remains essential in delivering care that truly heals.
Next slide.
From a planetary health perspective, this cultural wisdom finds new relevance. Just as we can uplift people through kindness, we can heal the earth through mindful actions. Acts like conserving resources, respecting nature, or supporting sustainable practices that honor our planet. And in return, we receive cleaner air, healthier ecosystems, and a more stable future. These reciprocal actions reflect a holistic worldview, where healing is not limited to humans but includes the earth as a living, interconnected system. By embracing our heritage of kindness, empathy, and responsibility toward one another and toward the planet, we can foster a more hopeful, harmonious, and a healthy world. Healing, as taught by cultural legacy, is not a singular act but a continuous cycle of giving, receiving, and growing together.
Thank you so much, Fadil, for your deep and enriching reflections on the song and on the whole idea of kindness, reciprocity, and giving and receiving back the pleasure of all this in the eyes of the of the giver. So let's move on to the next speaker. Yomna Hatem will present Timeless Healing, the Legacy of Medicine in the Middle East, examining the intellectual contributions of past and contemporary scholars and their impact on modern health paradigms. So about Yomna, Yomna is a third-year medical student and an early career researcher from Cairo University. Coming from a family of physicians, her pursuit of medicine has been both intuitive and deeply personal, driven by an enduring commitment to making a meaningful impact on people's lives. As an inspiring early career researcher, Yomna is particularly inspired by the field of eco-health and is passionate about exploring how medical science can serve humanity while fostering harmony with the natural world. She is keen to investigate the intersection between human health and environmental sustainability, striving to apply medical knowledge in ways that support both individual well-being and planetary health. And you can read the rest of the bio. And now, Yomna Hatem, you can share your screen and let us know what timeless healing means.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Mona, for introducing me. So the topic I'm going to be discussing today is basically timeless healing. So the history of medicine in the Middle East across different time regions. So starting off, I'm going to talk about the ancient Egyptians. So when we talk about medicine, we have to understand that it's an art. It's a whole art in itself. It's not just the science that we practice in hospitals as physicians or the knowledge we acquire from universities. It is, in fact, a very extensive art. When we talk about ancient civilizations' impact on medicine, the ancient Egyptians had a great contribution. They were particularly keen observers of the world around them because they believed in the concept of ma'at, which directly translates into balance. So the concept of ma'at is basically like a constituting of 42 rules, entailing how we can sustainably live in harmony with the nature around us. So it includes things like how to preserve the environment, how we can live a healthy lifestyle. So this reflects how pharaohs viewed health as a holistic approach. It is linked between our physical health as humans, our bodies, and the world around us. So one of the examples where the ancient Egyptians applied this concept of balance is by observing the tidal level of the Nile. So by observing the tidal levels of the Nile, how there's ebb and flow, there's rise, and then the levels fall back below. It showed them how balance is important, and it has got them to reflect about how this can be applied to the human body, which has led to the discovery of the concept modern of the circulatory system. So the circulatory system, according to the ancient Egyptians, a complex system better known by the channel theory. So the ancient Egyptians believed the internal system of the body was constituted by many vessels, which all were controlled by the Metu. The Metu is what they thought was the heart. So it is important to note down that the ancient Egyptians were the first to establish this concept of circulation, even before the Chinese medicine did. So when we talk about the way they healed,
Yumna, I guess we lost you. We cannot hear you now.
as my colleague Khalid will be elaborating later on. So the rituals typically started by prayers, followed by the regimens by various methods they used. Um,
Yumna, let us know when you'd like the next slide, please.
This, I think, replicates the hierarchy we have now, starting from an intern up to a resident and then finally a consultant. Medicine was a very important concept for ancient Egyptians. In fact, it was stated in the Hermetic books of Thoth that the death of a patient due to their deviation from the allocated treatment plan was considered a capital crime. Attached is a photo of the Hermetic Book of Thoth. Now, when we talk more specifically about surgery and anatomy, they were major interests of pursuits for the ancient Egyptians. They were the first in history to establish the means of fixating a dislocated mandible, which is evident in the Edwin Smith papyrus, leading back to 1550 BC. Now, I would like to emphasize this was first discovered by the ancient Egyptians, as it was later adapted 1,000 years later in the Hippocratic corpus later on. Now, the technique they used for fixating a dislocated mandible was surprisingly similar to the one we use today. It's almost the same technique exactly. Furthermore, the surgical tools they used are astoundingly similar to the ones we use today, except they used scalpels, forceps, scissors, splints, which were made of reeds tied together by strips of linen or pieces of wood padded with plant fiber. Compartments of the channel. Again, this links back to the topic my colleague Hassan is going to be elaborating on in a while. Now, one of the specific remedies they used among 500 different prescriptions was honey. Now, why do I want to emphasize the use of honey? Because it was also mentioned in the Quran, Surah An-Nahl, verse 69. From their bellies comes forth liquid of varying colors, in which there is healing for people. Surely in this is a sign for those who reflect. So this is a verse from the Holy Quran, which we go by as Muslims. So I think it's a very fascinating concept that honey was also a vital constituent for the ancient pharaohs. They knew all the potential healing and beneficial aspects of honey. So they used it as an anti-cough, anti-diarrheal, for wound healing, as an antiseptic, even to fix a loose tooth or for toothache. To me, I find it very eye-opening how it's very similar, our practices as ancient Egyptians and then as Muslims in medieval times, so the 9th and 10th century, and then finally Islam. It shows us that Islam has always been there across many civilizations. Now, moving on to a different time zone, the medieval times, ranging from the 9th to the 10th century. The scientist I chose to speak in detail about is Ibn Sina, who was a renowned Muslim philosopher from the Persian region, but he was also a physician and psychologist. Ibn Sina was also known as the Prince of Physicians due to his amazing, remarkable discoveries in medicine. One of his most important legacies is the Canon of Medicine, which is the book he wrote, which delved into the human anatomy, physiology, as well as psychology. Inserted below is Ibn Sina's definition of medicine. You can read it. So this his definition of medicine shows us he was one of the first scientists to adopt the concept of holistic medicine with a deep understanding of how psychology and philosophy are substantial elements for health. One of the examples is dyspepsia. He thought dyspepsia was not only an organic disease, but one of the causes of it was a mental one. So this shows us how he was invested in psychology. In this remarkable book, Ibn Sina established multiple medical fundamentals such as the management of stroke, the pathology and treatment of renal calculi, many pharmacological discoveries, and the discovery of brain tumors and stomach ulcers. One of his most remarkable analogies in philosophy was proving the existence of the soul as an immaterialistic entity on its own in a literary manner, again, which is an Islamic concept. Ibn Sina deeply believed healing any organic disease started within healing the soul. And of course, he practiced what he preached. Uh, when he couldn't develop it in a consolidated manner. So this shows us that a mind like Ibn Sina's can only have the capacity to analyze the human complexity when it finds solace and peace in spirituality and going to the mosque. Now the list goes on, because for medieval times it wasn't only Ibn Sina. There are many, many remarkable scientists. On the top of the list is Abu Bakr al-Razi, also known as the father of pediatric medicine, who was a brilliant philosopher, physician, alchemist, and psychologist. One of the greatest breakthroughs is the discovery of psychology, the concept of psychology and psychotherapy in general, and his invention of psychiatric wards in the Middle East. However, Al-Razi was also an expert on astronomy, physics, chemistry. This again emphasizes how scientists in medieval Muslim times, so talking about the 10th and 11th century, they weren't only specific to one type of science. So I rarely found one of the scientists who was specific only to medicine or physics or astronomy. In fact, they were interested in studying many different multidisciplinary aspects, including psychology and philosophy. Another remarkable scientist is Jabir ibn Hayyan, who was born in the Umayyad dynasty in Al-Kufa, now known as Iraq, at the end of the 10th century. He was a great philosopher and a remarkable alchemist, of course. Ibn Hayyan is the founder of the infamous theory, the science of balance. So now the science of balance is a theory that talks about reducing all sentimental or objective matters into qualitative qualities, subjective qualitative qualities. Another remarkable scientist is Muhammad ibn Musa al-Khwarizmi, who was a prime mathematician who discovered the concept of algorithms. So algorithms are a very essential component in everyday life for computers, for AI, for programming. Algorithms were even named after him. So in Arabic, algorithms are named as al-Khwarizmiyat, going back to his name, Muhammad ibn Musa al-Khwarizmi. For contemporary innovators, I want to talk about Dr. Ahmad Zewail, the Egyptian physicist and Nobel Prize winner that scaffolded the path for endless, unraveling opportunities for studying atomic reactions with his discovery, the femtoseconds. So the femtoseconds has many, many applications in studying chemistry on an atomic level, so a minuscule level, which of course has led to many discoveries and is still leading to many discoveries up to this day. One of the fascinating concepts about the use of femtoseconds is it is used in one of the ophthalmologic surgeries, particularly for corneal opacities. The technique is used because, in contrast to the old technique that was used using the conventional surgical instruments, the use of the femtoseconds assisted laser equipment has made the procedure much, much easier and more applicable. So that sums up what I have to say for today.
Thank you so much, Yomna, Haitham. This was really informative, and there's so much to learn from all the corpus of knowledge from ancient and contemporary scholars of the region. So next we have Yomna Hassan, who will lead us on a visually enriching journey through the mastery of artistic expressions in the region. showcasing the power of architecture, calligraphy, and music as therapeutic tools. Artistic therapy is now gaining recognition in modern medicine with funded projects supporting physicians exploring art in prescription. And this link, I will share it briefly in the chat box while Yomna is speaking now. So, Yomna Hassan, the floor is yours. Yeah, I didn't introduce you, pardon me. So, please, Angel, can you go one step back to so that I can read briefly the bio of Yomna? Yes, Yomna Hassan is a third-year medical student at Qasr Al Aini, and alongside her academic pursuit, Yomna has a deep appreciation for visual arts with a particular fascination for motifs, colors, and patterns. She enjoys drawing and finds inspiration in the contemplative beauty of Islamic architecture, which she believes nurtures the soul through its harmonious design and spiritual resonance. Yomna's intellectual curiosity extends beyond medicine. She is an avid reader with a strong interest in personal and self-development literature, especially topics that explore personality, growth, and change. She's also drawn to science fiction, particularly narratives surrounded around the topics of earth and environmental themes, as well as books with mystical and mysterious elements. Her recent foray into science fiction reflects her growing interest into how imaginative storytelling can intersect with real-world concerns about our planet. So, Yomna, please take over and let us hear from you. And this is like an eye leisure part of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about art, and specifically Islamic art. The term art usually refers to palettes, brushes, paintings, museums, but surprisingly and specifically Islamic art combines geometrical shapes of various sizes and dimensions. Not only this, but also it has an unhidden deep effect on people mentally and physically. They say that there's a silent theology behind Islamic art. How is this? From just glimpsing carpets in mosques, or even Ottoman manuscripts or Islamic calligraphy in mosques, there is that peace that is felt by people, which is known in Arabic as sakina. In addition to this, expressing how such an art can have a deep inspiration and forcing people or Muslims on performing their religious practices is deeply inspired by Islamic art, which is known as khushu'a. They say that Islamic art is a combination between two elements, imagination and reasoning. Imagination is a key element in human cognitive functions, and it's what makes humans unique compared to animals. And it's the key outlet for creativity. Whereas reasoning, that's the logical analysis and the logical thinking of imagination. And the link between imagination and reasoning resulted in Islamic art. Islamic and art, they are hand in hand, emphasizing and even elaborating the divinity of Allah. As in the hadith, Prophet, peace be upon him, said, God is beautiful and loves beauty. I want to skip to the next slide. That's a video. Okay. One of the new concepts that is recently discovered is the AOP concept, the art of prescription concept. Behind every artistic drawing, there is a deep unhidden effect on reducing stress, depression, and any other mental health issue or even risk. And that's the AOP concept, art of prescription concept, where we move a bit away from healthcare systems and come into a new idea where they say that why don't we allow mentally stressed people or mentally people that complain of mental health issue to draw, to even view a painting. That's known as the AOP concept. And it's now even applied in some countries like US, Australia, etc. And as you know, daily and all around the world, mental health issues and even risks for mental health issues, they are increasing daily. And the seek for medical advice is even increasing daily. And as Joan Miró, a Spanish painter and sculptor, said, a simple line painted with the brush can lead to freedom and happiness. The next slide, or the third slide. The third idea, Islamic art exceeds the common perception of art. Now, art is not only about paintings, again, brushes, palettes. No, it's a huge term that is not only applied on carpets, or you will view them on carpets, dishes we eat in, the way even we sit in, cups for coffee, the food terms, these all are art. Islamic art is a great example to represent this. Artistic paintings that express Islamic art, they are so unique in showing how such diverse colors and a combination of geometric shapes on a very simple dish can attract your eyes and, more surprisingly, makes you more excited to seek what the dish is holding inside besides what the art is outside representing. Not only this, not only dishes, the way coffee was established in Yemen, including some cultural institution, how they sit, how they prepare coffee, utilizing specific types of cups of coffee, which is known as fanagin. All of this elaborates and describes how Islamic art exceeded the common perception of art. Lastly, in a nutshell, the fourth slide, the last slide, Islamic art is a distinctive form of art that exceeds the usual form of art that we know to cover a more broader scope of art, to be applied on literally every object around us, from carpets and mosques to even dishes and cups of coffee. Not only this, but also its healing effect, tranquility, and even inspiration felt by observing such an art makes Islamic art unusual art. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yomna Hassan, for this very nice artistic dive into the artistic diversity of the region, in particular the Islamic art, and how the architecture in itself is a powerful example of this kind of art. So now we can open the floor for reflections from Carrie and Amjad, but then let's just see if Carrie can jump in first. And also this marks the end of the first hour of our discussion. So Angel, I think in this 12 minutes, we can have like open discussions from all the audiences. But then let's first hear from our panelist, Carrie Taylor from Australia.
Thanks for that, Mona. I hope everybody can hear me well on this early morning here in Australia. I'd like to first recognise that I'm coming to you from the unceded lands of the Kaurna people here in Adelaide in South Australia, and pay my respects to past, present and emerging elders. It is so wonderful to be present with everybody, and I pay my respects to the First Nations people present with us today and everywhere globally. I am really inspired by everything that I've heard from the students this morning. It's truly wonderful to witness this merging of science and sacred that has been lost for so long within both the medical realms and the science realms, and bringing together these two fields allows us to truly see, as I'm sure everybody witnessed just then by what they heard, how they really do run as one thread through all things, and how if we can interlace these things again, we not only increase our impacts on healing, but we heal and mend and weave together so beautifully through not just humanity, but into the earth and into all kin around us. And that's really important in the essence of understanding that, you know, we have this one divine essence that runs through all things that really require and call for each other, for all of us to be able to find that true healing and wholeness together. And it is really the way in which we can start to work with regards to going back to, you know, the concept of this gathering is around eco-health, and really understanding that ecological health is not separate to human health. They are one thing. And as we, you know, harm the earth, we harm ourselves. As we heal ourselves, we heal the earth. And bringing them together really allows us to exacerbate the deep medicine that is, you know, called for through all things. It's really beautiful. Amjad, would you like to add anything in before we discuss it together?
Great. Thank you, Carrie. Good evening, everyone, or good morning to some of you. Assalamu alaikum. Very honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me, Mona. It's really inspiring. First of all, thank you, Fadel, Yumna Hatham, and Yumna Hassan for this. Really inspiring to get a sense of our history. Have I switched to another language? Because Zoom is telling me I've switched to Spanish, but I'm not sure why. People can understand me, right? So it's probably great. All right. I don't even speak Spanish, so I don't know where Zoom is picking that one up from. Anyway, so it's inspiring, and it's inspiring in many levels. So, you know, as Mona sort of alluded to in her opening remarks, is that we are in the holy month of Ramadan, and we're coming towards the end of Ramadan. And, you know, the last 10 days of Ramadan are especially sacred for Muslims, particularly the odd nights of Ramadan. And tonight is one of those odd nights of Ramadan, where they call it the night of power, where the idea is that it is one of the nights where you feel the most closest to the divine, and you have that sense of spiritual connection. So coming back to the conversations that we're having today, it's just a reminder of that spiritual connection with the divine. So I wanted to thank you for sort of reminding us of the need for that spiritual connection. And, you know, I think that there's a thread that comes through all of the three elements, and that is that spiritual connection. And I think it was someone in the chat sort of had said that, you know, in other parts of the world, sometimes that spiritual connection is not as strong. But in many parts of the world, including in the MENA region, you know, faith is a part of your lived experience, right? It's what defines you as someone. And so if you don't consider that as part of the experience, then you effectively negate part of someone's identity, and that is not how you start a process of healing. So, and I work in peace building, and I'll talk about it a little bit more later on. But the concept of healing is extremely important when we talk about peace building. But that healing can only come when you have a sense of your whole identity. Your whole identity is recognized. So if we do not bring that spirituality into our lives, particularly when we in regions like the MENA region, you negate that that identity, you negate that person, you negate that agency. So it's really inspiring to kind of hear that. And the other aspect of it that I really found quite interesting is the concept of, as Fadel mentioned, the concept of compassion, which you know, at the onset is sort of what they call the golden rule, right? So compassion is you treat someone as you wish to be treated. So that again has a recognition of respect for someone else, respect for the other person, that interconnectedness with other person. So thank you for that kind of history lesson. You know, we often forget, we often think that the modern world is where we have the smartphone and where we everything else. Like we are the peak of civilization, and it's an important reminder that we are just one small chapter in the whole history of the Earth. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carrie Taylor and Amjad Salim. This is really profound insights to share with us, and I totally agree. And I think, Angel, yeah, we can open also the floor for more discussions. We have something like 6 minutes. So what do you think, Angel?
That sounds good, Mona. Take it away.
So please, everyone, feel free to unmute and share your comments or feedback on what has been presented. And I think Carlos, he posted something about the common ground in Mexico and Canada, where he lived. The biomedical perspectives are not often welcomed of religious knowledge. And from the presentations that were displayed, he can see deep interconnection between religious principles and planetary health. So is the bringing together of religious principles and biomedicine widely accepted in your region? Or is it only accepted with some spaces or not others? So this is a very, kind of tricky questions, because it has to deal with the dominant Western paradigm that most of the universities are adopting, and it's still being implemented at Cairo University, Qasr Al Aini School of Medicine, where we are coming from. Nevertheless, it's really like a paradox when you see the society adhering to certain modes of healing practices and concepts that is not really being taught in the Western curriculum. So in the second hour during the workshop, we will be discussing how can we do this merge, how can we do this kind of integration, meshing in spirituality with all the other aspects, starting from history of medicine and the history of humanity as a whole, to futuristic aspects of integration of AI, for example. So, Carlos, maybe you can share with us more about the region where you're coming from and the challenges yourself face to integrate some of these concepts.
Yes, of course. First of all, thank you so much for those amazing presentations. I learned a lot. And yeah, I was just struck by this theme of how strong this component of spirituality, and also hearing your response, Amjad, about how it is about negating a whole aspect that defines people, and how bad that can be for health. It's been just so inspiring, and also hearing you, Mona, Carrie, and the others about this contradiction in universities, and how they tend to reflect one way of thinking, and maybe not others. And yeah, similarly in my work, I work with communities in Mexico and in Canada, some indigenous, some non-indigenous. And my work is also about trying to better appreciate the wisdom of these communities, and trying to see how to better weave the stories that come from science with the stories that come from community. And so I'm really interested in hearing more from the panelists, and I look forward to the second part of the workshop. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Carlos. And this is why we are here, to cross-pollinate all the ideas together and to challenge the existing paradigm, which is really reductionist. And as I was earlier discussing with Carrie, even the practice of fasting is indigenous and is ancient. So this is not really being elaborated on when we are doing research or digging deep to the micro level at how this is affecting the gut health. Something that Hassan Haddad will be speaking about from a very scientific point of view, and a very realistic also point of view. So I hope you can stay tuned because in the upcoming presentations by Mai, Hassan, and Khalid, we will be diving in more depth about human and planetary health from the perspective of ancient wisdom, spirituality, and again, trying to integrate these concepts of mental health at the very center of it. So sometimes the curriculum that we teach is still reductionist and still not holistic in a way that we can approve. But then our duty as faculty members and professionals in the field to try to complement this with elective courses, with research ideas, and so on. So we have just 2 minutes. Angel, let us know if we can have more opening discussions with anyone on board.
Yeah, absolutely. If anyone has anything before, well, I'm happy to take your lead on the timing.
Yeah, maybe I can just jump in and just I guess echo kind of what you're saying, that there's one paradigm that's being taught, and I would say it's sort of a positivist paradigm, if I can use a phrase from philosophy, sort of the hypothesis testing of science, which of course is important, but yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to think about different ways of knowing. So I agree. We need more of that in our curriculums. So this is a great opportunity to work on that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ivan. And this reminds me of one of the British scholars who really critique the Western paradigm, that the paradigm itself triumphantly proclaimed that in our stage now we are at the final point of the evolution of human society, and through we can turn out to be so clever that we are running the risk of extinguishing ourselves. It's just like, this Western empire is taking us through a channel that there's no return, extinction of Homo sapiens. And this is something that's quite distinct if we are going to submit to this idea, or if we are going to work together to find an alternative paradigm or something that can really encompass all of these holistic ideas and indigenous wisdom with it. So I think it's the time that we try to challenge the status quo with so much encouragement from our global community who are like-minded and like-hearted. So I think we are right in the end of the time of the first hour, Angel. So yeah, maybe we can have a break or just enjoy some chat in the chat box here.
Yeah, and Mona sent me a couple songs to play during the break, so I'll play those right now, and then when they're done, we'll jump into the next hour.
Okay, everyone. So I pasted in the chat box some of Carrie Taylor's very inspiring work. We can navigate and see how the depths of spirituality and the idea of interconnectedness is really elaborated on in all of Carrie's work. So I guess we will have something like 5 or 7 minutes to stretch and to have a break. Then we will continue our second hour of the workshop. Thank you. So welcome back, everyone. And now we are in the second hour. We are transitioning into the interactive part of our session, a 2-hour workshop. And before we begin, I would like to invite Carrie Taylor to let us know more about the One Living System idea, what brought it forth, and how she came up with this idea of the oneness within everything, and everything is pointing to the sacredness of all life. So this is because I just shared the link to Carrie's work in the chat box. So maybe also we can have Carrie elaborating more about it before we start talking about the local initiative we are undertaking at Cairo University. Yeah, Carrie.
Wow, thank you for that, Mona. That's a real honor to be able to do that. I would like to say, in answer to when you say to me, where did the initiative come from with regards to the concept of the living system? And I think everybody here would appreciate me saying that it's not mine. It's not my idea. It's not my initiative. It is something that we know innately to be very true. It was revealed to me through deep ritual and meditation, and it was something that was given to me in a manner that I had to make sense of and bring to light into the world. It's something that through all my work as both counsellor and consultant in both mental and physical sort of health and well-being and wellness, that for years I had been working in this alternative manner. And in fact, it was the reason I studied from an alternative perspective instead of, going through the mainstream sort of scientific ways, really wanting to deeply study so many of the ancient ways and the traditional methods and the indigenous knowledge, deeply learnt amongst the land. And so when I was able to receive this and really deeply understand it and put it into words for us, it was something that for me made complete sense. It was as if there has never been any form of separation. And I think what was really important about the timing of it, which is, so beautifully written for all of us to be able to see at different points in history, is that at this point in time, it became even more crucial for us to be able to start to not only understand, but reconnect to this oneness, to this interconnectedness, or to this interbeingness, as I often say, so that we can actually start to change course in how we are living and where we are going. And, without it becoming, I guess, too political or anything, but, it's really important for us to understand that the times we are in is such an exacerbated point from all the deep colonialism that's happened and the removal and the tearing apart of these really ancient threads that really began with science and sacred as one medium. It was one learning, it was one knowledge. You never learnt one without the other because they were all so deeply a part of each other. And for us to really be able to make the changes that we need going forward, we really need to deeply start to understand our own sacredness and how that interweaves with the rest of life for us to be able to make these changes and really start to course correct in where we're going forward, which is why conversations like this are so deeply important, because for so many people, it's just innate wisdom to know that these things are one. And when we come to hearing it again, we allow ourselves to expand and really start to step into everything that we know to be true. And it allows us to then heal our own inner self. And, you know, this comes into Amjad's work with regards to having our own inner peace that then exudes out of us into, you know, peace with how we deal with nature and each other and, you know, everything above and below. So it's a really important point to understand that sacredness, because it's what weaves us and braids us together, right? And it's the space that we come to understanding that the separation was only ever you know, an illusion to help us stay a part of a system that was working for itself, not the living system that allows all of us to come together and be one together.
Yeah, and this is very important to find our common ground, even, you know, when coming with different terms, you know. At the end, we are speaking the same language from the heart, and we are seeking the same kind of inner peace. So this is so heartfelt, Carrie, and I'm really you know, having this feeling that many of those attending here on board, they are on the same page with you. So feel free, everyone, if you would like to share your feedback or reflections on what Carrie has just shared. Her work is public on Substacks, and also we have shared the YouTube link where some of those ideas are showcased. So yeah, before we go forward, is anyone here would like to elaborate more on those ideas of the oneness, on the interconnectedness? Otherwise, we can share screen, Angel, and begin with the methodology or toolkits that we applied at Cairo University, starting with this video.
Greetings of peace, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. It's such an honor
Sorry,
and pleasure to
Carrie?
be among this wonderful
Carrie, sorry, Angel, I'm so sorry. It was just a piece of it. I'm afraid, yeah, it's minute three. Yeah, just a little bit backward. No, I mean, it's not that part. It begins with the narrative medicine part, you know? Yes, yeah, a little bit earlier.
Our contribution to this cause begins locally.
Just, okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's it, yeah.
By launching an undergraduate course for medical students at Cairo University, Egypt, Narrative Medicine and Planetary Health have initiated an inside-out transformative journey. This interdisciplinary approach empowers future physicians to understand patient stories, societal context, and environmental impacts on health down to the molecular level. Nurturing empathy, compassion, and holistic care that move beyond the human skeleton, the disease model, towards a broader vision of human flourishing and well-being. Beyond the confines of conventional medical education, we celebrate the intellectual diversity of our students with an intergenerational acknowledgement. We provide a creative space with an unlimited format of submissions, ranging from scientific articles to expressive artwork and music. promoting self-development, creativity, and imagination to navigate personal and planetary health challenges at all scales. By equipping our medical students with this holistic perspective and opportunities, we are fostering a generation of physicians who are ready to tackle complex global challenges and learn from pioneers championing the climate agenda. It is within this intergenerational convergence of knowledge that the seeds of innovative solutions are sown.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Angel. So we have a couple of other videos that showcase students in the recent batch of 2024. So the idea began in 2017 with the narrative medicine as a concept to foster deep reflection, mindfulness, and diagnostic listening as essential tools for navigating today's complex health and environmental issues. And slowly, we began integrating the spiritual element and also the history of medicine as core elements in the course itself. So we can also display the other two videos, and we can see May and Khalid and Hassan in those videos. So thank you so much, Angel, for displaying those videos. And it was really an honor for me to meet May, Hassan, and Khalid during the last cohort of this year. So we will start with May. May Walid is a junior medical student enrolled in the integrated program of Qasr Al Aini with a strong passion for integrative medicine. She is particularly interested in the role of diet in disease prevention and treatment. As an emerging researcher, her academic focus includes planetary health diets and the ethical responsibility of healthcare professionals in promoting sustainable and holistic health practices. Her intellectual curiosity extends beyond the classroom. She is deeply engaged in exploring the intersections of culture, climate change, and biomedicine with a key interest in ancient Egyptian approaches to healing and holistic care. Her participation in Planetary Health course this year has broadened her understanding of global health challenges and the cultural dimensions of healthcare delivery. So Mai is a very compassionate and really a researcher to be. And we are really happy that she will be discussing with us about the prophetic wisdom and planetary wellness, exploring the Sunnah's diet impact on health and sustainability. And this also takes us to the idea of animal welfare and the ethics dealing with animals for consumption. The idea that I think was discussed here in the chat box, and we will elaborate more about it with references to complement Mai while she is speaking. So the floor is yours, Mai. Feel free to unmute.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Good evening, everybody. Today we'll be talking about the diets and the best diets in order for us to follow. Across the years, many dietitians have proposed different diets in order for us, the population, to follow. Ones which do aim for nourishment of our body, as well as minimal calorie intake. One of the most recent diets proposed in 2019 by the Eat Lancet Commission is the Planetary Health Diet, one which aims for the nourishment of our bodies as well as the planet's well-being. However, one diet proposed for the whole global community might not be suitable for everyone. Another diet, which has been proposed 1,400 years ago by our Prophet, peace be upon him, is the Sunnah diet, one which aims for nothing with balance and moderation. Can you please move on? The Sunnah diet aims for nothing but balance and moderation. It's not a strict diet, nor a very restrictive one. In fact, it's a diet which aims for balance and moderation in many different ways, whether it was in the food groups, in the calorie intake, and even in the nourishment of our bodies. And it only follows two guidelines. One, eating halal food, which is food prepared in a certain way in order for us people to be able to eat it, and food which is called at-tayyib, food that is pure, wholesome, and entirely beneficial to our bodies, and it's not harmful or damaging to our bodies in any way possible. In fact, such a diet is very flexible, and as I said, not very limiting and not very rigid, as it does include all of the food groups, starting from animal products up until fruits, vegetables, grains, and many more foods, including honey, dates, milk, and grains. Can you please move on? On the other hand, Planetary Health Diet is one which aims for an entirely plant-based diet with very minimal animal products, claiming that such a diet would be very beneficial for our planet. However, such a diet did clash with so many traditions and cultures of different countries. As I mentioned before, we come from very different backgrounds. We all follow different traditions and cultures. For example, in Africa, it did clash with their traditions and cultures, and you can't really ask someone to let go of their traditions and cultures in order to follow a certain diet. On the other hand, the Sunnah diet is flexible enough for different people to follow it. Will you please move on? Yes, the Sunnah diet does carry the same aims that the PH diet carries, which includes the planet's well-being and the nourishment of our bodies. As said by our Prophet, peace be upon him, do not waste water even if performing ablution at a flowing river. Ablution is the action carried by us Muslims in order for us to be able to pray. Such an action, in general, requires a very minimal amount of water. So the Prophet even told us to not waste the endless water flowing in the river in such a sacred action. Another wording from our Holy Quran, do not cause corruption upon the earth after it has been set in order. Our religion strictly prohibits us from causing damage to our planet in any way possible, whether it was food waste, water waste, damaging the forests, any area around us. It's strictly prohibited in our religion. So therefore, the Sunnah diet does also aim for the planet's well-being. So following the Sunnah diet will also achieve the goal of having a healthy planet and less global warming and all of this. Its principles also result in lower carbon footprints, reduced food waste, and higher biodiversity support in local food systems. The Sunnah diet also revolves around flexibility and sustainability. Its sustainability, being sustainable, means that it is flexible enough for different cultures and different people across the globe are able to follow it, as it does include, as I said, all food groups, however, in the correct amounts. The Sunnah diet aims for nothing but eating correctly and moderately and mindfully. And a very good example showing how easy for such a diet to be followed by different people, we have the Australian diet doctor, Moody Dinoy, which is in fact not Muslim. He does follow the Sunnah diet, and he did mention how such a diet is very beneficial for the body, as it aims for nothing but eating in a balanced way, eating mindfully, being contented with what you're eating. And yes, so therefore it will provide the body with the nourishment and energy needed. As he also said, prophetic nutrition is about balance. Your diet should work with your body, not against it. It's not supposed to be very restrictive or very limiting or only allowing small groups of food. It could allow all groups of food in the correct amounts and also being satisfied and not harming anything around you. In addition to all of this, we also have the sayings by our Prophet, the hadith, which he tells us how can we eat, how can we drink, and the amounts of food we can eat. How do we eat? We have a saying telling us that we should eat with our right hand, and we should say Allah's name over the food before eating it so that it can be blessed. And another saying also does tell us that we're not supposed to eat when we're reclined or sleeping to prevent choking over the food. Another one also does tell us how to eat using our fingers. We're supposed to eat using the thumb, the index finger, and the middle finger to prevent covering our whole hand with food, and to also lick our fingers after eating so that we could be blessed with the food we're eating. Finally, one which does also talk about preventing food waste is that if for any reason the food you're eating does fall from you on the ground, you do not throw it. You pick it up, you clean it, say Allah's name over it, and then eat it. A hadith which talks also about the amount that we could eat is found on the next slide. Tells us that the food is blessed enough for one person, could be eaten by 2 people. Food that suffices 2 people could be eaten by 4, and food that suffices 4 people could be eaten by 8. Last but not least, how can we drink? In this case, we follow 2 guidelines. First of all, we're not allowed to breathe into the vessel we're drinking from to prevent any of the bacteria that our body might be carrying to be from our respiratory system to be inside the vessel. And lastly, we're not supposed to drink like animals. In other words, we're not supposed to drink the whole cup at once. We're supposed to drink at 3 gulps so that we can be fully satisfied and not drink too much so that our stomachs aren't too full. To sum things up, it's all about eating mindfully. We can eat all of the food groups, however, in the correct amounts and in moderation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mai, for elaborating on the idea that planetary health diet is not a one-size-fits-all. So that's the issue behind the imposing certain idea or imposing certain paradigm on the entire globe. This doesn't really come easy, and especially when we interpret this on the micro scale of the microbiome. So Hassan will take us through this landscape. Let me first introduce Hassan. He is a junior medical student at the integrated program of Qasr Al Aini School of Medicine, a forward thinker and compassionate individual. Hassan was drawn to medicine by its unique potential to create lasting, meaningful change in people's life. He is particularly passionate about pediatrics, aspiring to improve the health and well-being of children, believing that care provided in the early life can leave a lifelong impact. His academic journey has been enriched by studies in narrative medicine and planetary health, which deepened his understanding of the importance of hope, resilience, and working towards a better, more equitable future for all. These experiences have also shaped his commitment to accessible healthcare, especially for children, and reinforcing his beliefs in the untapped potential of the Arab world to contribute significantly to the global medical advancement inspired by its rich history and cultural strength. So Hassan, you can take over, and the idea that you will be exploring is about cultural rhythms of healing, gut health through sleep, fasting, and melody from the Middle Eastern lens. So Hassan, yeah, please share your ideas with us.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi everyone. I'd like to start by talking about probiotics. Probiotics have been widely marketed as essential for gut health, immunity, and even for preventing colds or flus. And while some research has supported their benefits, many commercial claims have been exaggerated and not fully backed up by science. There's no strong evidence that probiotics significantly alter the behavior or have major health effects on otherwise healthy individuals. And sure, if you take probiotics after taking some antibiotics, they could help, but they're not a cure for all solution, as they're often portrayed and marketed. And due to these misleading claims, they've been faced with a lot of legal challenges and lawsuits questioning their advertised effects. One of the ways where you can help the gut health is by fasting, which I will talk about in the next slide. how fasting can help the gut microbiome. The gut microbiome plays a crucial role in the metabolic health. It influences conditions like obesity, type 2 diabetes, and metabolic liver diseases. And some researchers have been exploring ways to modify this microbiome as a potential treatment for these conditions, instead of relying on things like medicine or more invasive techniques like surgery. One of those ways was intermittent fasting, and it has gained a lot of attention for its positive effects on weight loss, cardiovascular health, and oxidative stress reduction. And as we all know, this could lead to less tumors and less cancers, which would really help like the overall health of the person. A way of intermittent fasting that us Arabs and Muslims follow is Ramadan intermittent fasting. And it's been particularly studied, showing unique effects on the microbiota. It increases the microbial diversity. It improves the Firmicutes to bacteroidetes ratio, which is usually linked for better mood regulation and better metabolism. It also enhances metabolic markers like HDL, which is like the good cholesterol, and it lowers triglycerides. However, the impact of fasting on the gut microbiota is not really uniform. In healthy individuals, you can see there's a greater microbiota diversity and better metabolic responses. However, people who are usually like overweight or obese, they can experience more variable changes. And that's why we need to really emphasize the need for a personalized approach when we give fasting as a dietary intervention for these people. Slide 3. Can we move to the next slide, please? How music, sound frequencies, how music and sound frequencies help the gut health. So recent research has suggested that auditory stimuli can influence the gut health, which is really interesting. One research has shown that exposure to Mozart's K448 in D-tone reinforces the intestinal barrier, which reduces the leaky gut syndrome and reduces IBS. It also increases key proteins needed for gut integrity. In addition to that, it could increase the enhanced immune function, increasing the IgA and IgG proteins, which protect the gut lining. And overall, the microbial diversity in this experiment remained stable. However, the composition of the microbiota did change. And here it had a reduced Firmicutes and bacteroidetes ratio. And as I mentioned before, it was better for mood regulation and metabolic health. Interestingly, the specific composition of the music, it wasn't really important because Mozart doesn't really have some lyrics. So it was more about the frequency and more about the decibel levels. And in this particular study, it was played at 60 hertz. And Quranic recitations in mosques, they're usually also played at 60 hertz. And people have been long associating these Quranic recitations with physiological and psychological calming effects, and this raises important questions about how sound frequencies can influence the gut health and overall well-being. Circadian rhythms, how sleep affects the gut microbiome. So circadian rhythms regulate key functions in the body, including sleep and hormone release, appetite, digestion, and even body temperature. Research has shown that gut microbiota composition usually changes significantly after 48 hours of sleep deprivation. And while the gut microbiota composition returns back to normal after 1 week of sleep recovery, some molecular pathways remain altered, indicating lasting biological effects. One study, for example, showed that sleep-deprived rats had 19 microbial pathways being disrupted. And within 24 hours, they had worse of sleep loss only. And they even worsened after 48 hours. They didn't even fully recover after the 1 week. This highlights profound and long-term impacts on sleep deprivation beyond just microbiota shifts. This is not just in rats. One human study has shown that 2 nights of sleep deprivation followed by 2 nights of recovery led to increased levels of specific types of bacteria, and it decreased some other types, which shows a relation between the gut and the sleep cycle. For example, shift workers face additional psychological stresses due to disrupted circadian rhythms, and they have shorter sleep durations, which leads to gut microbiota imbalances and leads to the loss of the circadian regulation and leads to stress. It also causes hyperactivity of the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, which increases the intestinal permeability and causes inflammation, which, as you all know, and explains like that most shift workers have acne and they have IBS and other inflammatory conditions. This is all explained by the gut microbiota. The gut bacteria also plays a role in the mental health and sleep regulation. So, for example, Enterococcus bacteria produces serotonin, which is linked to REM sleep and depression, while the Lactobacillus influences GABA secretion. And abnormal GABA secretion could lead to depression and insomnia. This all shows the complex relationship between the gut and sleep and mental health and everything we do from our day-to-day lives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hassan, taking us to the micro scale at the cellular level. And of course, we all noticed how music can really be something of further exploration, and this can highlight the convergence of science and spirituality in ways we are only beginning to appreciate. And similar to the microbiome, we also have the mitochondria, the powerhouse of energy, also being explored to see how music and different sound disciplines can really affect the entirety of the energy of the whole body. So I think I pasted this also in the chat box. This is just emerging fields of studies that's now taking place to converge science and spirituality. So moving to our next speaker, Khalid Mohammed is a junior medical student at the integrated program of Qasr Al Aini School of Medicine. Growing up in a family deeply rooted in the medical field, he was inspired from an early age to pursue a path of healing and service, witnessing firsthand the profound impact of compassionate care through his parents' work in medicine. Driven by a strong desire to help as many people as possible, Khalid envisions contributing meaningfully to global health with long-term aspirations to establishing a hospital dedicated to humanitarian service. His passion lies in exploring the evolving landscape of medicine, delving into diverse perspectives across cultures and generations, and engaging with emerging concepts like planetary health and sustainable healthcare. So, Khalid will explore the Islamic worldview and holistic well-being, mental, physical, and spiritual health. Khalid, please unmute yourself and we can
Yes,
hear
Dr.
all
Good
your
evening.
insights. Thank you, Khalid.
So my section here will be talking about the Islamic medicine in general and its contributions to the healthcare system, especially in physical, mental, and spiritual health. And starting by a general saying from the Quran, in chapter 5, verse 32, whoever takes a life, it will be as if they killed all of humanity, and whoever saves a life, it will be as if they have saved, as if they saved all of humanity. This just shows and embraces the importance of such a deed of saving people and curing people. And we have seen throughout the generations how doctors have a very high status between people by being basically saving humanity. We will also be talking about prophetic medicine, which refers to the body of medical knowledge derived from the sayings, teachings, and practices of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. And this encompasses different levels of healthcare, starting with the physical health. Yes, the Prophet has described a range of therapeutic and preventive approaches. Therapeutic medicine included minor surgical procedures such as al-hijama or wet cupping therapy. which is known to kind of purify the blood, removing toxins and different harmful substances from it, as well as the use of medical plants, natural beverages, and specific foods endorsed by the Prophet for their health benefits. And this was better discussed by my colleagues before. Preventive prophetic medicine emphasized the importance of quarantine during epidemics, as the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "If you get wind of the outbreak of plague in a land, do not enter it, and if it breaks out in a land in which you are, do not leave it." Next, we will be talking about the mental health. Yes. Mental health was an area of great importance in Islam, and this was apparent in Prophet Muhammad's peace and blessings be upon him life. This was emphasized in the year of sadness, where his grief was exacerbated by the immense financial pressure on him and his followers from Quraysh's socio-economic boycott. Part of managing his grief in his life involved embracing and acknowledging his emotions, which was apparent in many situations, such as the death of his son Ibrahim. While watching Ibrahim, who was just 18 months old, take his last breaths, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, demonstrated the importance of being careful with one's words and focusing on coming into terms with reality and accepting the will of God with contentment and healing. With tears flowing down his blessed cheeks, he said, "Indeed, the eyes shed tears and the heart feels sorrow, yet we do not say anything except that which is pleasing to our Lord. Your departure, O Ibrahim, surely leaves us all deeply saddened." This was noted in Riyadh al-Salihin. Marriage stands were built later on in Islam, armed with the worldview of holistic healing and the understanding that humans are complex social and emotional beings. They employed multi-level approaches to healing. This included auditory therapy by employing Quranic recitations, nature sounds such as the sounds of wave, the sounds of birds, the sound of rain, and so on. When patients completed the treatment and were discharged from Islamic hospitals, such as Dar al-Maistan in Baghdad, they would receive financial support actually in order to bridge their transition and reintegration into daily life. All of these very careful considerations evidence the importance that early Muslim scholars placed on integrating mental health treatment into holistic well-being. It's also these very well thought out considerations that led Islamic medicine to become known as humanistic medicine. Next, we'll be moving on to spiritual health, where he, peace and blessings be upon him, also taught a holistic approach to healing, including assessing spiritual remedies such as mindful remembrance of Allah, cognitive reframing in light of Allah's divine will, and special supplications for anxiety and sadness. Regulating our emotions and taking good care of our bodies. This spiritual aspect also includes our understanding of the self, soul, and heart, called nafs, ruh, and qalb, respectively in Arabic. Starting by the heart, it has two indications. First, obviously, the physical heart that we all know. And second is the general perceiver, which acknowledges truths and is at rest with the obligations and held accountable for it, and cannot be described by our known senses. Simply, the heart differentiates between the good deeds and the bad deeds and chooses whether to follow this or that. And according to its choice, it gets its payback. Its payback, which can be described as the purity of heart and feeling of calmness and tranquility in those choosing the good side, and in those choosing the bad side, they will always experience anxiety. They will always experience fear, anger, being more into a dark side. Second, we'll talk about the soul, which God has told us in the Quran. They ask you, O Prophet, about the spirit. Say its nature is known only to my Lord, and you, O humanity, have been given little knowledge. Obviously, this tells us that our knowledge about the soul will always be limited. We won't really get into depth in understanding it. But from our little understanding, it can indicate an entity originating from the cavity of our physical heart and flowing through all parts of the body. And the second is a conscious and acknowledging entity, and it represents our understanding of the surroundings. The self, however, is usually the incompensation of anger and desire, which must be disciplined at all times. It's usually mentioned as the desire to commit sins and leads to every evil. At the end, the Islamic medical tradition presents a model of health that supports wholeness by integrating physical, mental, and spiritual dimensions of well-being, rooted in the Quran and Sunnah. This approach not only emphasizes therapeutic and preventive healthcare, but also underscores the significance of emotional resilience and spiritual grounding. From the Prophet's peace and blessings be upon him teachings on physical health to establishment of Maristan's, early Islamic medicine championed a comprehensive vision of healing that caters to both the body and the soul. Ultimately, the Islamic worldview on health and well-being is one of wholeness, where physical, mental, and spiritual harmony are intertwined. This legacy not only enriched historical medical advancements, but continues to offer valuable insights for modern discussions on holistic medicine and human flourishing.
Thank you so much, Khaled, for elaborating on a holistic worldview through the lens of Islam. Islam is beyond a faith-based tradition. It's a lived program that's also tackling the ontological, philosophical wellspring of the deep concepts that has to do with consciousness, with mental health, and guidance for all times. So thank you, Khaled. We deeply value your emphasis on mental health, especially in the prophetic era, and the significance of emotional resilience and spiritual grounding in achieving inner peace. And this is just to mention that why are we just going back and forth elaborating on Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him? It's because he is the seal of the prophets, and it was mentioned that he only came to perfect the character, and to affirm the message of all the previous stream of prophets before him. And I really like, Khaled, the slide where you were mentioning how the greetings of prophets were. Perhaps, Angel, you can go back to the very first slide of Khaled when he mentions that Jesus, upon him peace, say Shalom Alaikum in Hebrew, Jesus say Salam Alaikum in Aramaic, and Muhammad, peace be upon him, say Assalamu Alaikum in Arabic. And the same word of Allah is also mentioned in different languages as Elohim, God, and so many other replication of the same oneness of God. And that's why we have 99 attributes or 99 names in Islam that refers to the attributes of God. And I think that even in our previous talk in 2023, we shared a document called One God, Many Names. So this is just to bring us both and all of us on the same page that we are speaking about the same thing, about the same divine oneness that is really, permeating in all our consciousness and in all creations and everything. So thank you so much, Angel, for your technical assistance in this and for your reflection about the themes of the presentations. Yeah, we intend to bring them all to the point that converge to the whole holistic lens through the Islamic and the ancient Egyptian worldview. So I think, Rian also joined us in the meeting. She was one of the panelists of last year. Rian is from the Netherlands, and perhaps also she can join us here on board if she feels like unmuting and sharing her reflections as we end this part of the second hour. So yeah, Rian.
I'm not sure I want to unmute and share too much because I just came out of facilitating a discussion and I just fell right into the middle of things. But yeah, really excited to be here and benefiting from all the knowledgeable speakers. So yeah, keep on up with the Earth Hug.
Thank you so much, Rian, and it's really a pleasure to connect again with you. So, Angel, let us know how can we leap forward. I think we can also invite Carrie and Amjad to share their juicy perspectives about the three presentations and the toolkits being shared earlier in this hour. So Carrie and Amjad, feel free to unmute if you feel like. Yeah, and we can certainly circle back to Bo and discuss this idea about the ethics dealing with animals. Yeah, so let me know if we can hear from any of you. Feel free to unmute immediately if you feel like. Yeah, Bo, yeah. Yes, Bo, please, yeah, unmute yourself, Bo.
Okay, can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Very good. Well, I'm talking to you from Saint-Hyacinthe, Quebec, Canada. I'm a professor of veterinary medicine, retired now, but I would like to comment on the question concerning the introduction of the difficulty of introducing spirituality in our Western curriculums. And I think it's true that we can say that it's taboo to even talk about religion in our programs. Not so much because the students are not receptive, but I think it's more a question that our programs are built around scientific evidence. And so by doing that, when you introduce a religious angle, people are uneasy and they're not used to it. So what I did in a course that was called Ethics and Animal Welfare is I decided to invite a First Nation speaker who she came and gave the perspective of First Nations and introduced the notions of the greater spirit, God, in which the First Nations believe. And then I used her speech or her presentation to give students an option to work on an ethical dilemma with respect to veterinary medicine. And in this case, it was a question of surgery on cats to declaw, to remove the claws, to avoid destroying furniture and so on. So this is a very contentious issue. And so I presented to the students different approaches, like the European approaches, philosophical approaches of utilitarianism, deontology, and also the spiritual approach that was presented. And I gave the students the choice to use whichever one to help them decide what action, if they think it is right or wrong to do declawing in cats. And so surprisingly, out of a group of 90 students, maybe 3 or 4 used the spiritual approach. And the rest, they used the more classical philosophical approach. So I think there's hope, that we can find ways to introduce this, but it is truly a challenge in our Western academia.
Yeah, everything you mentioned, Bo, really resonates with my situation at Cairo University. Although we are a Muslim majority, but still it's a taboo. So we have those 3 prohibitions to talk about religion, race, and anything that has to do with politics. So it's really the same situation in all universities worldwide, because we are, as I mentioned and discussed earlier with Carrie, we are sort of strangulated with this kinds of things that has to do with quality assurance, with guidelines. All of this is trying to really narrow our focus, being myopic, being like standardized, without really paying much attention to the context of where we are teaching these disciplines. So I really congratulate you both for this initiative to try to integrate indigenous worldviews, because it's really important not to marginalize these very important worldviews going forward. It has been really silenced for decades, and it's really time. It's time we honor them through integrating their wisdom, dealing with nature, with how we approach animal health, we approach human health, sustainability issues. So everything you mentioned really echoes, and I'm really happy to hear that. And this is sort of a local initiative also, Paul, that maybe Angel can also publish in the eco health community. Yeah. Paul.
Maybe I could just add something else. Is the reaction I had from the students. Some students came to me after this lecture and said, this has no place in the curriculum. You know, this is not science and so on. And I told them, listen, my responsibility, I'm not trying to say you have to believe in this approach, but you have to be aware that when you will be in professional life, you will be faced with all these different ways of seeing the world, including a religious aspect. So my responsibility is to show you that this is there, and it's up to you whether or not you want to choose this to help you in your professional life or another philosophical way of thinking.
That's really another bravo, Paul, and really this resonates a lot with me, and also with the idea that the sacred interconnectedness of all things, it has been really being diluted with this secular worldview that we cannot really tolerate anymore, because we feel like it's not giving us the inner nourishment, and it's not answering our questions anymore. And then at the research level, it's very interesting to have something like the gut microbiome research, the mitochondria research, those very microscopic levels that speaks to the importance of inner resilience to the totality of health. So again, we can still approach spirituality from a research level and from an educational point of view, because for example, our physicians will be graduated and dealing with the local communities who may be treating themselves with herbal medicine. You know, Egypt, for example, is ranked number 4 globally in the exportation of herbal medicine, herbal plants, because we really believe in the benefits of those, simple way of treating our illnesses, and still inherited from ancient Egyptian paradigm. So this again is totally untaught in the curriculum. And maybe Carrie can also speak a lot about the issue of education and what we really aspire to do working together. Thank you both.
There's so many things that I wanted to speak to with regards to the wonderful presentations from the students before. So deep gratitude to Maya and Hassam and Khalid for the work that you just put forward to us. But I wanted to address specifically Paul just then, and something Christina, sorry if I'm getting you wrong, Christina mentioned in the chat, and that is around the veterinary sciences, but let's bring it right down to saying animal and kin, right? And we need to have and I wrote a specific section around animal and kin in working with the living systems, because it's so important for us to realize that they are here. We can utilize plants as our medicines, but animals are there to guide and teach us, and they are very much directly linked to our growth and our well-being, and it is another example of how we treat them is deeply aligned with how we treat ourselves and each other, which we know even goes back into psychology now, deep psychology, looking at how people treat animals and what their mental health leads to, even in psychosis and everything going forward. But from a regenerative perspective, from a specific regenerative perspective, just around eco health, the importance of animals and their grazing and the way they work the land is absolutely essential to how the earth repairs herself, and how we then get nourishment through their waste going into our systems and our soils and everything. So the work with animals and the oneness with animals is just absolutely vital in how we go forward with health in general. And that's not just them as beings, that's them as sacred interbeings with us, and just even in the opposite to the psycho help with regards to how people misuse animals is how animals are so vitally tuned into us and used in the positive frames of our mental health, and how their work in care, and how having animals in hospitals, in having animals in our older people's environments and everything really deeply nourishes, you know, the way of and the feeling of us going forward. So thanks for raising all of that, Paul, and for the work that you're doing around that, and for your persistence. And Christina, also, you know, your persistence in offering, as you say, Paul. All you can do is offer all of these different things and say, you know, where you are at, and that's the framing around meeting people where they're at, right? Like we meet them where they are, we offer them everything and say what you can use right now is the best that you can offer. But I just wanted to mention that it is so vital. It's specifically in replying to you.
That's very insightful, Carrie, and it reminded me of the part that you wrote about the language of animals, that also this is something that we need to pay attention on, that they are similar communities to us. They have their own language, and they have their inner fitra, as we can say, or inner consciousness, knowing the oneness as well. So I guess, yeah, we can also hear from Amjad, sharing his wonderful perspectives with us. So the floor is yours, Amjad.
Thank you. No, thank you so much for those 3 presentations. Again, this concept of interconnectedness seems to resonate amongst that, and there's a interconnectedness within ourselves. So, you know, if you think about how I was fascinated by the fact that that our gut seems to resonate with Mozart, right? I mean, so there's an interconnectedness internally, and then that interconnectedness resonates with how then we look at the world, and we look at others, and how that is reflected. So I think that is something that has resonated with me quite a lot. And I mean, I'm struck by there's a famous Victorian explorer called Sir Richard Burton, who wrote he wrote a sort of a poem where he said that all faith is false, all faith is true, truth is the shattered mirror strewn in different pieces, while each believes his little bit the whole to own. And one of the commentators on that poem sort of said that we often think that we have only one bit of that shattered mirror, and we think that's the whole truth. But in actual fact, each of us has a piece of that truth. And so when we put it together and we reassemble that shattered mirror into the mosaic of what is the whole of creation, then we recognize our interconnectedness. And I think this is what is coming through, right? That we are part of a whole tradition of values, of systems of thinking that throughout history, and we have to see that interconnectedness to be able to build that mirror, and that we're all dependent on each other as well, right? So if each of us holds a piece of that mirror, then we cannot have put that mirror together without each other. And I think currently, in the current context where there's a lot of grief and a lot of polarization based on faith or nationality or whatever, I think it's important for us to kind of recapture that. So I think the conversations today are really inspiring towards that. Thank you.
Yes, we need to bring ourselves together in a bubble that's really thinking positively about our interconnectedness and our potential to undo this kind of, polarized, dominant, and maybe biocidal worldview that's really bringing the humanity to a dark tunnel. I don't know. Sometimes it's even like apocalyptic, framing some of the challenges of climate change, of things that has to do with our planetary issues in a way that's really bringing like a whistle blow, making us to run forward I don't know, it's really something that's not adding to our inner resilience, you know, always making a distraction to our inner peace, and and this is not really how life is intended to be. We really need to contemplate more, and I really appreciate even when Carrie mentioned that she went into a very deep contemplation to bring out those in-depth thoughts and wisdom that she shared with us. So yeah, and also we have I think Carlos, he shared something very important about the post-positive science. So yeah, Carlos, please unmute and let us hear more.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I was thinking about the things that I have read about our basic assumptions about reality and knowledge, which is often discussed under the name or term of ontology. And so many Western research paradigms, from the post-positivistic realist to more critical or constructivist, they both rely on assuming that there is a distance between the knower or the humans and nature or reality. And this basic idea that basically it's at the base of these epistemologies, it's an idea that only a few cultures in the world had. I've heard from many indigenous scholars in North America that their languages do not have a direct translation for nature because their ontologies or ways of organizing reality do not rely on those categories of human and nature. And so it is by realizing that these ideas are not universal and that these ideas are just starting points, and that different cultures have different starting points, and they have developed their own knowledge systems building on those ideas, and all of them work internally. And so it's difficult and unfair to judge one system against the other using an external assumption or an external framework. And so, yeah, I just want to resonate with some of the previous ideas about everyone having a different piece of knowledge to share, to contribute. And unfortunately, some ideas have overpowered others and left very little space for other stories or others ideas to flourish. But I really want to thank all of the presenters and people in this panel for really bringing this sense of interconnection and what is it that we can do when we appreciate all forms of knowledge. Thank you.
Carlos, this was really inspiring, and it brought forth the idea of humanity. Our nature is not ontologically pessimistic. Yeah, you know, like we always adopt positive thinking more than the negative side of things. So many studies has been conducted about the importance of positivity on the entirety of health. So the mindset really matters during these critical times. And I think even the indigenous worldviews, they usually adopt this kind of, positivity in their tone, in their reactions to everything. So we need to be really more in contact with them so that we can also understand more how to leap forward with hope, with hope and resilience. So the floor is open. I think Angeline also shared something very insightful here about the wisdom of indigenous cultures. So Angeline, maybe you can elaborate more if you'd like. Just no pressure, anyone, yeah. So Angeline, feel free if you want to unmute.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm from the Philippines, and good morning again. And I have always been curious about the different ways people understand about the indigenous worldview. But I think for me, it's been a great honor that I am here, and 2 a.m. It's too early here in the Philippines. But I think it's worth it, and I gain a lot of knowledge. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Angeline. And you're coming from the side of Carrie. Carrie is also having a very early time zone at her end. So thank you for joining us, Angeline, and sharing your perspectives with us. Okay, so maybe we can come to the part of the sentences, Carrie and Amjad. How can we take it forward for the global common good?
Amjad, I'm happy to start because I want to reflect on something you said a moment ago about your shattered mirror.
Hey.
And what I love about that is that one of the things I always start with in speaking is around visions are not given to only one. They're given to many. And our first point of call is to find those who share those visions to bring it back together. And it reminds me so much of your shattered mirror, right? Like of all of us having the ability to see and to come together, really, to be able to see the whole. I think one of the most important and beautiful things about these sorts of summits is that we do get to experience one another from all different places in the world and really hear and appreciate so many other elements of knowing and learning that really come together to bring about that wholeness. I wanted to just pay respect to the earlier student speakers and just comment to them directly, Maya, with regards to, you know, your regenerative work and talking about people and place and diets and everything. And I think somewhere in there, actually, it was Evan, perhaps in the comment, in the chat box that had commented around, you know, the necessity for us to truly be able to observe. If we are having one way for anything, it's not truly allowing us to see the wholeness of people and place where they are, and how locality is super important when it comes down to this with regards to what is available and what is practical and what is capable to be grown or bred or used within different areas, and how beautiful that is in being able to work with the land in her own space and being able to ask her to nourish us in the ways that are relevant to where we are. And of course, that very concept takes us on to what Hassan and Khalid spoke about, both with regards to Hassan with the microbiome and fasting. And the beautiful thing is that, you know, we're realizing now with the packaged versions of probiotics and that they aren't all created equally. And yet, if we use the land around us and go back to traditional ways of fermenting, we create the most powerful, you know, bacteria and probiotics and everything within our own regions. And every culture and every tradition has had these ferments that have not only work with the bacteria there, but they work through seasons, right? And they allow seasons to last, and they allow cultures to flourish through their nourishment and everything. And it's so profound, the knowledge and the wisdom that, you know, we have through our lineages and our heritage, that has really given us so much for us to be able to look back and learn from and lean from. And that doesn't mean necessarily that the pharmaceutical industry gets to come in and take over and put it all into a cute little tablet, that we still have the power, each of us, to be able to create our own wealth and health and well-being with the nutrients and everything around us, and with these deep skills that we have around fermenting. And again, each culture ferments in completely different ways, and what they use and how they create it and the story that they build through it is unique to each culture. And it's really amazing how that really goes into building, again, the gut microbiome, and how over time we have really lost so much of the bacteria that we've had. and how we can actually go back to restoring that and take that on ourselves by really deeply tapping into where we are and the what our grandmothers, our great grandmothers have all done, and perhaps has gotten lost going through the stages. And the microbiome then led us into fasting, which is an enormous, now becoming such a very Western thing to do, but it's something that has been so traditionally embedded into all Indigenous cultures. And I always like to remind people that it's not just, within the cultures that humans fast, but animals also fast, right? And there is no animal on earth that walks around having 3 meals a day and constantly eats and all these things, right? Like we graze, we stop, we take time to digest. And it's important to even know that even the moon has this time of silence in her void of course through each sign. There is pause to everything. And this is so important for us to remember, to not, and it's potentially one of the ways that we have amongst many, created our dis-ease and illness within our own bodies by this overconsumption, right? And by this greed, and not allowing this deep silence and fasting time to be allowed within our bodies to deeply take pause and rest, brings us into that beautiful component of sleep and how it is so vitally important to all things. There is day and night. That is for things to sleep and be awake. And there's day and night within us. And it's just beautiful to be able to live into these cycles and systems and everything that's happening around us and really pay attention to that. Sound, of course, is really profound when it comes to not just the gut, but healing in general, because it is one of those things that right back to the earliest prophets, to our earliest physicians, we had the pleasure of learning from them that sound healing was so important. Many who traveled to the East came back with songs that they used specifically for different ailments, with cancers or with any gut diseases. And they had specific songs that they used or musics that they used to heal different people. And sound has always been with us. And I think a beautiful part of that is also remembering the sound of silence and allowing ourselves to sit in that deep space, which brings that reverence, to all of life, and for people to specific gods or to their chosen ones. And it's really beautiful for us to be able to have that going through. And just lastly, Khalid, that really, resonates into that wholeness of the mental, physical, and spiritual health that you spoke about, right? Like where all of these different pieces come together into that oneness of having that total health. And, as very much feeling emotional beings, I like to go back and say to people, the heart is the first organ that is created, and therefore we feel our way into being. And that's how deeply we are feeling beings, right? Like it's our first port of call, that we feel into everything, and how much that really resonates deeply through our physical, mental, and spiritual health, as you mentioned. So I just wanted to take a moment to reply to our 3 speakers in depth, just to be able to thank them for the thoughts that they've brought to everybody today, and for the work that you are doing, and how inspiring it is for us to have young people coming through the medical fields who are already deeply interested in these heritage and traditional patterns. It brings us so much hope, truly, for everything in the future going forward.
Thank you so much, Carrie. And I really echo everything you mentioned about the rights of animals and how we are stuffing them, for industry purpose and for the food production issues. And this also brings us to the dilemma of food insecurity, having antibiotic resistance within the animals and into the soil, and also feeding them in a way that's really damaging their health, So also the ethical part of the slaughterhouses, using all these electronic things to slaughter a big number of poultry or meat in just femtoseconds without even paying much attention to the empathy of this act. So I shared here some of the papers regarding what halal food is and why it's important for sustainability of the whole food production issue. And it became something like really outspoken now that being halal is not just something for the Muslim community, it's for the well-being of animals as well, and the food production issue. So you brought out so many powerful ideas, Carrie. One of it is that silence, as I say, fertilize the intellect. On social media, we have a lot to, share and to read, and we don't really have time for meditation or for being silent to digest and to read our inner self and to have our inner peace. So this is also important in the age we are living in. And I join you in congratulating all the early career researchers who shared with us today this part of extracurricular studies, because this is not really going to give them credit as grades or, as something of a privilege. But then, this is something that they sense it's going to build up their career and their global interconnectedness with like-minded people. So thank you so much, Carrie. And I totally agree with you, Ivan, that mobile phones become something that inevitably going to, send us notifications every now and then and distracting us on a constant level. This is how modern life challenges is. So moving to Amjad. Amjad, we are really looking forward to hearing your in-depth insights on everything that has been shared so far. So please share with us, Amjad. Thank you.
Thank you. I also just want to echo my thanks to the students. It's really great to hear you just reflecting from your and being confident enough as well to reflect from your faith, because as I think Paul and Mona and everyone has said, that's often, when you're in this academic spaces, you're forced to silo your identity, right? You're forced to kind of say that this is why I'm here, and then I'm somewhere else. And so I think the fact that you managed to bring that together is a real credit to you, and it speaks as well to this aspect of having a space to understand each other, to get to know where else someone else is coming from, to find the commonalities, and ultimately to respect that, even though you may not fully agree with that. And I think that's fine, but you have had a space to kind of understand, and I appreciate that. And I think, as I think was Paul said, that it'd be great to have a space where we also reflect from other spiritualities as well, because you will find those commonalities that are there, and you'll find that there's actually not a lot that makes us different, right? We're extremely connected in that sense. So I'm going to maybe come from this from slightly different perspective, because I come from a peace building humanitarian background. Previously used to be a civil engineer, so in terms of health and medical things, I only know about it when I get sick. So I think one thing that has resonated today, and it reminds me of a story that I often tell when I start talking about peace building. And it's a story of a man who comes home after work, and it's pre smartphones and tablets, so he decides he wants to read the newspaper after work, and he has a 7-year-old son who's really excited to see him, and he wants to play with him and everything else, and he keeps on sort of pestering his father, and his father just wants 45 minutes to sit and read the paper. And so what he does is he goes to a magazine, it's a travel magazine, and there's a picture of the world, and so he tears off that picture, and he tears it into little pieces, gives it to his son, and says, go and make that jigsaw. And he thinks that that'll buy him maybe about half an hour or so to kind of sit and read the paper. And after about 10-15 minutes, the son comes back and says, I've done it. And the father says, well, how did you manage to do that. I tore it in small pieces. And he said, well, on the other side of the picture of the world was a picture of a man. So I kind of reassembled the picture of the man, and I got the world. And that kind of story always is a start of sort of saying, if we really want to make a change in the world, we start with a man. We start with a person. We start with a single person. And this is also very much in line with all the prophetic traditions that are there. There's been single people who have come and inspired change in others. So when you want to start a change, when you want to start to build peace, you start with yourself, because if you don't have inner peace, you can't build outer peace. If you're not at peace with yourself, you can't build peace outside. It's just impossible. And then that goes back to then, what do we mean by inner peace? And if we look at I think it was Khalid's presentation, where he really kind of looked at the spiritual, the emotion, the physical, the mental. Those are all components that kind of end up building that inner peace. Stephen Covey, who's a management guru, who wrote the book Seven Habits for Highly Effective People. He talked about the 4 L's of life, where he said it's to live, to love, to learn, to leave a legacy. And so when you talk about to live, you're talking about your physical health, your physical energy. When you talk about to love, it's your emotional component. When you talk about to learn, it's your mental capacity. And if you talk about to leave a legacy, it's your spiritual component. And then he then later on added another L, which is to laugh, because he said that part of this is also just remembering that you need to enjoy what you're doing. So when you talk about those 5 L's of life, for example, you're really then talking about building that inner strength, that you need to be physically fit, you need to be emotionally fit, you need to be constantly learning, having that mental strength. And you need to have that spiritual connection, and you need to be laughing as well, so that you can start to build peace with the other person, because that's important. There's only when you build your inner peace, then you can start to build peace with communities. And then when we talk about that mental aspect of it, because I think sometimes mental health is seen as very taboo in the MENA region, in the Muslim community. You don't really talk about being stressed, or you don't really talk about mental health, because it's not seen as something that is there, or having that emotions. And so we look back and we're reminded, even the Prophet, peace be upon him, stressed very strongly on the mental perspective. And so I think it's important that we take some time to actually just recognize that. And so in that spirit, I want to kind of just share a poem that the poet Rumi sort of came up with, and he called it the guest house. And some of you may have come across this for you. And in the guest house, he says, this being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door, laughing, and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. And so this being human is about accepting the diversity of emotions that we all have. It's about accepting everyone that we have there. It's about creating that space for a compassionate view on how we engage, we work in partnership with each other. And so I think that the strong message that we've had today is really that if we really want to build a community, we start with ourselves, but we start with accepting our multiple identities, and we start with creating a space to engage with each other. I probably will stop there. Mona, thank you for inviting me to kind of share a few thoughts, and I'm really opening up as well for others to speak. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amjad, for all these insightful sharings and also the poem. And this is something like a prescription to beautifully end with our session, to live, to love, to learn, to leave a legacy, and to laugh, and also to be welcoming individuals, to be tolerant enough to accept our diversity in our identities and in the way we are living, in everything. And this brings back inner peace. And I would also like to thank Carrie Terror for her generous givings. She shared with us her book, One Living System. It's really, it will take you to a very insightful journey from the inside out. So I think, Angel, maybe we can share our song as well, The Center. And it carries a lot of meanings to the centeredness of the divine in our life and how we can find inner peace by just aligning ourselves with the divine being. So thank you so much, everyone. And please feel free to keep the conversation going in the chat box until we reflect on this song and then end our session, inshallah. Thank you.
Why am I in this place, torn asunder by blight? Shorn by the blades of inequity, drowned by darkness, immersed in the turbid waters of negligence, forgetfulness. Question not why, but understand this simple truth. It's the center, it's the center of all wealth. Now is the moment at the heart of all times. Ask not why here and now, but be in the here and now. Ask not why here and now, but be in the here and now. It's the center, it's the center of all wealth. Now is the moment at the heart of all time. Ask not why here and now, but be as the moment at the heart of all times. Here is the center that is the center of all will.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Angel. And as a description of the song, it's about the center of a circle that draws together from all radii surrounding it into unity. The center brings together all of the crucial elements of the spiritual journey, putting aside self-centered doubt and ungratefulness. We come to understand that the here and now is the doorway between the limited and the infinite, between time and eternity, to pass through the doorway to find the key to all existence. So this is just shared from the words of Sayyid Hussein Nasr. He's a Persian scholar, and he wrote the lyrics of this song, which is the music is composed by Sami Yusuf. Sami Yusuf is one of the 500 most influential Muslims worldwide. So he's like the pop star of this community. So I really hope you enjoyed the song. And we have just like final minutes to do the closing. I would like to hear more from you, Angel and Ivan, and all the committee arranging this wonderful event. Thank you.
Thank you, Mona, and thank you to all of the speakers in this session. I feel very grateful that you brought your courage and your work and your passion into this space. And so I feel very grateful, and my heart feels very full, and I've learned so much from all of you, so thank you. If anyone is able to and wanting to, if you want to turn on your camera, we can take a little screenshot. We typically do that at each of the sessions just so we can honor all of you for taking the time. So we can do that before we close. But otherwise, a big thank you to Mona for holding the space and organizing this session and always making sure that the Middle East has just an amazing, like, integrative and very whole human presence at Earth Hug. So thank you, Mona. It couldn't happen without you, for sure. Okay, so if anyone does want to turn on your camera, we can do a screenshot, and if not, that's okay too. This is also a time you can turn off your camera if you don't want to be part of the photo. I guess it goes both ways. Okay, so I'll give it one more minute. Okay. Oh, hi. Perfect. Okay, so I'll just do it in 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Okay, thank you. And I'll pass it back to you, Mona, to close it off. But really grateful. And we're going to keep the Zoom room open for another hour in case people do want to talk. There's no pressure. It's just an open time. We wanted to hold the space in case there's lingering conversations. And then the next session will be tomorrow at 8 p.m. EET, which is North America / Turtle Island. And I'll send a daily email to all the registrants to let you know what the sessions are that day. So you'll hear from me probably tonight with the schedule for tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Angel. And you are certainly an angel, you know. I'm really fascinated by your wonderful soothing style and also your magnificent technical support and facilitation of this session. It wouldn't have been that seamless without your generous support. And also I'm acknowledging each and every one of the early career researchers at Cairo University who had really contributed with a lot of passion, who really believe in what they are saying, not just, you know, preparing slides and doing things out of an assignment. They are really passionate about what they are talking about. And I also extend my immense gratitude to Carrie Taylor for all the intellectual exchange that we did several months before. And this resulted in this kind of cross-pollination that we are sharing with you and also expanding our knowledge with all of you. So Amjad Salim, I also extend my heartfelt gratitude for your magnificent work and your capacity to really adopt so many things and to be in so many time and spaces and share with us your expertise and also this very important initiative of the faith in action that you've just shared in the chat box. And maybe also you can have some minutes to elaborate more on, because it took something like a year or so to put it together. So it's really something important in the space of planetary health. Yeah, Amjad.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't really want to sort of talk about it early on because I thought I didn't want to kind of promote my own work. But it's a project that the MONA has been involved in, but over the last year, we've been trying to get a conversation around faith and planetary health, because what we recognized was in the conversations, at least around the planetary health ecosystem, there wasn't anything that sort of brought faith and spirituality into the conversations in a meaningful way. So last April 2024, we brought together a group of people in Malaysia on the sidelines of the Planetary Health Alliance meeting, and we got them to kind of think about what should we be doing to help and excite the faith community around this perspective on what themes that could we have these conversations and what could be a call to action. So the charter is really first step. It's drawing on existing pieces of work. So you have Laudato Si from the Catholic Church. You have Al Mizan that was done by UN Environment Program. You have a number of other things there, but it really just kind of brings everything together to kind of say, this is what we think, at least from a planetary health perspective, we can have a conversation, mainly because what we felt was that planetary health was something that maybe communities would resonate a little bit more with, as opposed to climate change when they think it's quite very scientific and everything else. And so this is another way. And Rianne, I think there's a conversation we need to bring in the IDGs as well there, because I think that's something that I know that I've been very conscious of as well bringing in. So please do have a look at it. Please do send your comments. If you'd like to endorse it, please do that. We would like to kind of promote this more and more, just to have people talking about then. Again, I'm really happy that in this space we also brought in the concept of planetary health, and we're happy to kind of see how we can collaborate on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amjad, and it was really a privilege for me to work closely with you in drafting this. And there are so many others in the list of contribution. So the insights shared today really remind us that planetary health is not merely a contemporary concern, but is a wisdom inherited from our ancestors. Whether through medicine, arts, spiritual traditions, healing is an intrinsic part of cultural resilience. So with this, I would like to again acknowledge Ivan, Angel, and all the organizing committee of the Earth Hug. And I think the floor can be opened in those last minutes so that we can hear from everyone joining us. Rian, do you have something as a final closure? You worked on Al Mizan concept as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was a critical reader on that, and it's interesting how it's going everywhere in the Netherlands. Stichting Groene Moslims has used it as a book, as part of their book reading, and it's really interesting that it's not only Muslims attending that book club by Green Muslims, and also how people interpret it, and they from the reading, now translation into Dutch, and also using as a means to engage in interfaith dialogue that, you know, no matter what our inspiration is, we've only got one planet, and it's really about encouraging people's internal passion and interest about caring for this one planet, especially when so much bad news is happening. It really helps to have something that keeps us going in this marathon. And so I also link it to other initiatives, that it's not always about inventing your own thing and wanting all to move to that one, but very much seeing it like grains of sand, and that together we make the beach in that sense. So yeah, for some people, like the IDGs are like the thing, and for others, people have an existing faith, but sometimes hard to convey that passion by using their own religious jargon. So therefore, it's looking at maybe working as IDGs as like a Esperanto to facilitate exchange in that sense. And therefore, events like this are also great, that we might not all have the same view on things, but it's so fascinating and encouraging to hear from varied voices about what makes us keeping focused on elements. So yeah, I wish I could keep the full 24-hour Earth hug, but at least these moments are really great, and the bits I miss, I'll watch them on the recording. And yeah, so grateful to be here. Thank you so much, everyone who made this possible, either in front of the camera, behind the camera, any way possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rian. And this reminds me of the recording of 2023 when you joined. So I will drop this recording in the chat box for all of us to watch and catch up with the previous conversations. And I wonder if in the last minutes, Carrie can generously, again, contribute with any final thoughts, anything about looking forward to further collaborations as we gather as a group here.
I think what's really important to remember and to witness right now when we're all together is that here we are, the people that sometimes you wonder where they are, who are like-minded, like-hearted to you, and you say, where are they, and how can I meet them? And here we are, we're here and we're all together, and already this begins that next step, and it begins the movements forward towards change. And it's really about embracing this and carrying it forward. It's such a joy, Angel, that this continues to happen, that we have the next 24, 48 hours of this to be able to stay together. But even just if this is the one, you know, the one that you can get to, you know, look around, look at the faces, look at the names. These are people that are working alongside you, that are really wanting to walk towards a new world that is just filled with, you know, the love and the legacy and the laughter that is going to build, you know, peace on earth, and just a way forward that allows all interconnections to flourish. So I think it's really wonderful for us to begin our days with this, or to end our days with this, and have this capacity to realise that everything you've wondered as to where we are, we're here, and we're all very keen and active to be able to collaborate and work together. So let's stay connected and reach out and stay committed to moving into the more beautiful world we all know is possible.
That's wonderful sharing, Carrie, and I really echo everything you mentioned. And I hope that Angel can still bind us together through the Earth Hug. I know it will end in 3 days, but then what about further collaboration, Angel? Is there any plans that we can still have open conversations about these things?
Yeah, we've been talking about that and keeping continuity and connection and relationship between our events that happen annually. And so we've been floating the idea of like a WhatsApp community. Not sure if that's the best platform. So if you do have any thoughts, please do reach out to me. And we continue to imagine what could happen and how we could all come together and be connected in between our events as well. And of course, always doing these events annually. So there will at least be those.
Thank you so much, Angel. And I think that there are many other groups working towards the same mission. Amjad elaborated on some, the Charter community, and Rian, the Al-Mizan community. And also I posted about the Earthrise community that Professor Susan Prescott is spearheading. And very soon there will be a paper published about the idea of a contemplative community where we are gathering to nurture our spirituality and to have good understanding about our different understanding from this spiritual realm. So perhaps in those 5 last minutes, you can also propose something else of similar communities that's trying to merge the sacred and science together. And or maybe we can hear from the panelists, the students who have shared already. So the floor is yours. Anyone?
Unfortunately, I'll have to leave. It's 6 p.m. here, and I was supposed to do supper, so I'm already. My wife is going to say, "Okay, here he is again in his office, trying in another world." But anyway, I appreciate this session. Very, very inspiring. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you all, and really enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay.
It was really insightful also to hear from you. Thank you so much, and hope we can reconnect in the space that Angel is planning to establish.
Thank you very much.
Take great care of you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So Angel, do you think we can have like a gentle closure, or maybe just stop the recording at this stage?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can close the space. If anyone wants to stay on and connect, it'll just be an open Zoom room with no facilitation or anything, just an invitation to use it however you want to, if that's with yourself or with others. So thank you, everyone. And thank you, Mona, again, for starting off the Earth Hug this year. Always grateful to you. Bye. Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.